Greetings. I wanted to do a little video here and answer some questions that I haven't had time to answer on YouTube and on the comment section. It's so hard to keep up with comments. I get so many, and I'm always weeding them out because I get a lot of people that are really not authentic. So I spend a lot of time doing those things, and then some of your questions get overlooked, and I don't mean to do that. I'm thinking now, I didn't like these kind of videos. When other people did these kind of videos asking frequently asked questions or whatever they are, I didn't like them because you'd have to watch the whole video to see if anything you cared about was being answered. But then I've seen people do like timestamps where they put the questions that you answered and put a little timestamp on there, so you can know if you just want to know about one thing, you can go to that and get your answer. So maybe we'll do a little experimenting with that. Just keep in mind that I am just such a novice at this whole thing. This is just not my. This is not in my wheelhouse. This, computers and cameras, and it's. I'm an old crone, and I've got a lot of wisdom, but it's not in that area. So just be a little patient with me. I'll try. But I did scribble down some questions that I saw that I thought were something that I get these kind of questions a lot, so I thought I would answer some of them. And I will start with one question that I have on witches jars, which is interesting because I just finished filming a video on making a witch's jar, because I'm working on one coming up for May 1. So, and I did not say this. The question was, do you ever? So I will answer this question first. And the question is, do you ever have a need to? Would there ever be a reason to place one of these outside your own property? As far as for protection, I do not. If that was what the question meant, I do not concern myself with protecting somebody else's property. I concern myself with protecting my own. The only time that I place one outside my property is when we are trying to dispose of one that has been used. And I did answer that, I think, in the video that I just put up. I've answered that a couple of times. When it is done, if to dispose it, I take it off my property, I put it in a proper receptacle of waste. Rather than throwing it into a stream, which a lot of people will say throw it into moving water, I am never going to recommend you throw anything into water. That's just not my, that's not my practice. There's enough garbage thrown into the oceans and the rivers and the streams without putting my witch's jar in there. So, I just don't do that. But I take it to be disposed of, I will take it to a dumpster, public dumpster or something like that, and dispose of it, turn my back, and walk away, and do not turn around and look at it. Just walk away. That's somewhere off of my property. Other than that, the protections that I put up are just basically they're just for my property only, either my outside of my home or inside of my home. Okay. Now I have questions on binding spells. A lot of people are very concerned that I would even do a binding spell or that I would discuss a binding spell. And I get that. I know a lot of people, probably very close to me, who would want to caution me about doing binding spells. And I understand that. I wasn't born yesterday. I do know that there can be some dangers that you need to, first of all, when you're doing any kind of spell work, your intention is the spell. Your intention is so important. People think of the intention too often as an afterthought, almost give it an afterthought. Like they get all the things, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to make a spell, and I'm going to use this crystals, and this incense, and this candle, and this oil, and blah, 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 and set up this space, and, But when they go to say the words, to say their intention, to state their intention in the spell, they give that the least amount of effort. And that really should be the bulk of your effort. That really should be, let me say that again, the bulk of your effort. Your intention is almost everything. It's really possible to do a spell without using candles, or without using incense, or without using crystals, or without using, charms or amulets or whatever. It's possible to do a spell just with your intention. The reason we use other things are to assist you, to support your intention, to make your intentions even stronger. It's not the other way around. So your intention is everything. And when you're going to do a binding spell, any kind of a spell, but a binding spell, think carefully about your intention and make sure that when you state your intention, you are stating correctly. And this is a good way to remember it. Let's pretend. I've given this example. It can be applied to anything. But I've given this example before when I talk about people who do prosperity spells or money spells. That they want money and they'll do a spell and they'll put all their intention into I just need some money. I need a lot of money. I need it now. I need it fast. Whatever. Just give me some money. Give me some money. Give me some money. And as a result, maybe not as a result, but what happens is, perhaps, think about it. How do you get that money? Do you get it because of a death of a relative? Do you get it because of being the benefactor of an insurance policy from somebody who has passed? Is that what your intention was? Of course not. That's of course not your intention. And not that you would say that, but be very careful that you say, that's why you say exactly what your need is. You don't just put a general, very generic intention out into the universe to ask for something, because you do care very much about how it comes about happening. When you are putting a binding on a person, you are not, in my practice, I am not seeking to hurt the other person. I don't wish to cause harm to any person. And I wish to, when I do binding, I don't wish anybody dead or anybody ill or anybody, anything like that, or anything horrible to happen to the person. I wish to change a behavior that they're doing. And a lot of things that people say, that's changing them because that's interfering with their willpower, with their freedom of will, or whatever, I don't know what the term is. What should I mean? Well, no, that's, you're not just free to do anything you want to, and if it's good, because if their behavior is harming other people, they don't have a right to harm other people. They just don't have a right to do that. I don't like to be political on my channel, but I've put bindings before for political gain, for political reasons, and people had a hissy fit with that. Well, you know what? I was doing that because I felt that the behaviors that people were doing and the decisions, the political decisions were being made, were hurting and harming a lot of people. That's the behavior that I wanted to stop. I didn't want any hurt to come to the person that I was binding. That was very strong in my intention, okay? That doesn't mean I'm bound to that person forever. There's no reason for me to be bound to that person. If that were the case, we would be bound to everything. If every time we did any kind of a spell, we would be bound to things for absolute ever. And that's just not the way it works. A lot of times we have I think we have a difference in what our terminology is. When I say binding, when you say the word binding, you think of that you're confining somebody in some way, like you're literally tying their hands or their feet, or you're putting a gag over their mouth, or you're physically restraining them in some way, like you're keeping a person away from you, is actually doing so by tying them up or making them not be able to speak, or that's not. It doesn't go hand in hand. That's not a part of the intention. But you have to be very specific what you want to. So you have to say very specifically when you're binding somebody. You can say things like, if you're trying to break a relationship off with a person and you want to keep somebody away from you, you don't want that person as a being a major part of your life. You don't want that person dead. You don't want the person ill. You don't want that person hurt. You just don't want that person free to think they can be free to come into your life and intrude in your life and in your personal business. So you can state that in your intention, and be sure that you're saying that in your intention. That be sure you're saying, you know, that you don't wish them any harm. You just wish that you're not a part of their life. You're not a part of their life anymore. You're just not a part of it. That they find something else other than you to satisfy whatever they were using you to satisfy. That's binding. See, there's so many different levels of it that you just have to be careful what you do. Now, yes, I have given the daughter, and I sell the daughter, and I think the daughter is tremendous as to use for binding, and I use it all the time when I'm doing binding. But I want to say, it's only dangerous as I make it. I hear from people all the time, they get so pissed at me because I'm using something, I have no seeds, it has been boiled, there's no seeds, it is dead, it is not planted anywhere, it's not growing anywhere. I'm not doing anything with that plant, and I will not even give you seeds. If I had a seed, I wouldn't give you a seed. That's not what we use, that's not what we have it for. We use it for dyeing. That's where we basically got it, was for dyeing, and it goes in the dye pot first. So it is well beyond anything that is going to be used for growing anywhere. And then it is kept in, it's kept in in ways that it cannot hurt anybody. Nobody's going to eat it or ingest it or plant it, or it's not going to happen. It just can't happen. So, I take it very responsible. But as effective as daughter is in my spell work, my intention is more so. I don't have to have it. You don't have to have it. You don't have to give me $8 or whatever I sell you to you for to have it. You can do it without it. You don't need it. There's a lot of other ways to do it. So the magic is not in the item. The magic is in your intention. Just keep remembering that all the time. Make a sign. Embroider it, frame it, hang it on your wall. The magic is in your intention. Now, it asks me if I do work with money spells. I do work with money spells. It says for other people, no. I don't do spells for other people. I do spells for myself. I can tell you how I will do a spell, how I would do a spell, but I will never do a spell for you. I don't sell my spells. I don't, you can't pay me any amount of money for me to perform a spell for you. It's not going to happen. That's not what I do. For prosperity, I have a prosperity altar that I do things for, but I will also do separate spells for prosperity. I have in the past. I don't do them right now because when I do prosperity spells, I really believe that you ask for what you need. You don't ask for, I would never do a spell where I just ask for unlimited money, or I wish I was a millionaire. That's, first of all, wish. That's not an intention. But boy, there have been times when I really needed some money to come up with. I needed this money, or some X is going to happen, like our power is going to be shut off, or our, foreclose on our mortgage, or, those days. We all have those kind of days, those periods of time in our lives. When you specifically need, what do you need? Lady Gravedancer talks about this all the time. She will even say, I need $967.43. She will even say that as her intention. Because that is all she needs. She doesn't need more than that. And I agree. Be specific what you want. What you need. Be specific. If you're very specific in your intention, you're more likely to get it. If you say, I have this electric bill, $230 electric bill, that I have got to pay, I just have to pay it. They're going to shut off my power, and I have to have it. You might get money somehow that is worth that, or something might open up for you that helps you with that situation. See, either one of those helps you solve your problem. Okay. Sometimes you get an answer for your spell, a response to your spell that isn't exactly what you thought it was going to be, but it's still solved. It still satisfied your intention. That's why you state your intention so clearly, because that's what you want. that's what you want. I have another question. What do I mean when I say feed a spell or charge a spell? And does the inertia fall off a spell? Okay, well, I say when you are making a spell, it depends on what you're going to do it for. I'll give a good example. I've never done this, obviously, you can tell and look at me, but people sometimes put up spells for losing weight. The reason I don't do that is, even though I do need to lose weight, I'm changing, I have lifestyle decisions that I'm making, changes to my lifestyle. It took me a long time to get to the size I am, and I think it's naturally going to take me a while to get to the size I'm not. But for whatever reason, I am this size, and I want to be healthy. I'd rather be healthy than I don't care. I'm 69 years old. I'm not going to be I'm not beautiful. We're not beautiful at 69. I mean, I know people are going to say, "Oh, I think you're beautiful." Well, thank you. Thank you. And I know what you mean. I do know what you mean, but it's not my beauty that I'm concerned with right now. So I don't have to lose pounds to look cute in an outfit or whatever. I'm more about being healthy and that. But I wouldn't do a spell for that. I would want one too, because I just think that I don't want to lose. People have to be really careful when they put up a spell to lose weight. If you just say you want to lose weight, you're not wishing yourself to fall ill. Do you want to? I had a sister-in-law who all she wanted was to lose weight. I just want to lose weight, and then she got real excited because she started losing all this weight, and she started like, "Oh, I look so good. I really look good. I'm hot. I really look cute. My husband thinks I look sexy, whatever." Well, she was dead in 3 months. She had cancer and she didn't know it. I know that's really a horrible thing to say, but that's why she was losing weight. She wasn't healthy. She was losing weight. But so this is what I mean by your intention. Not that she brought that on to herself. She did not. I'm not saying she did. Please don't think I said that. But there's a part of me that I'm thinking, we don't want to. That's my yard. I hope that's my husband. Is that my husband in the yard? Yes. Okay. Just heard you. You sounded creepy. It's my husband. I thought was either my husband or creep. Well, it's my husband, not a creep. That's good to know. Okay. So anyway, if you are gonna do a spell for it, let's say you're on a diet, you're on a special diet, and you want to do a special spell to help you stay on the diet and lose weight, to help you with your willpower, whatever it is you're doing. Okay, that is a kind of spell that normally would take more than one day. You're not going to do a spell and tomorrow wake up 10 pounds lighter, right? It's going to take a while. So in that case, the spell is going to be over a period of time. And you can even see people do like a large candle, and they will burn it, and then they'll relight it the next day. Like they'll have a big candle, like where they say their intention, and they light the candle and do all that, and they say their intention, and they let it burn a little ways, and then they stop it, and then they'll do it again, and another day they'll keep going and keep going and keep going. And the idea is they're feeding that spell. They're feeding the spell. Every day they're feeding the spell, feeding the spell, feeding the spell, and it's building on. It's making their intention stronger, because just like you're going to feed, you feed anybody to make them stronger. You give them, you feed your garden to make your plants grow. You feed your children to make them grow. Right? That's how we need our nutrition to grow. You do the same thing. That's what feeding a spell means. Charging a spell is what I was talking about when I was talking about in my other video. I was talking about a witch's jar, that I'm going to make the witch's jar, but the spell is not done. This right now is just a tool. I'm over a period of days, I'm adding things to my jar, which then before I go to bury it, I will set up a space and I will do things. I will work with the elements and I will put my intentions into the jar, and I will, pass it through the smoke of the flame of the fire, or sprinkle it with water, those kind of things, pass it through the incense, whatever I'm going to do with it, that is charging the spell. That is charging it. That's just creating it and putting your energies onto it. That's what we mean by charging a spell. So charging a spell is initially, setting it going, and feeding it is when you have a time over time that you want to keep adding to it. Now, does the inertia fall off? Yes. Yes, the inertia does fall off. But sometimes you don't need it. You don't need that to happen. I mean, sometimes it doesn't mean you have to redo it. It just means that, it's put into play. It's like put into play, put into motion. And as long as things are going good, and you're on your diet, and it got you really to a good head start on your diet, and you're doing really well, and then all of a sudden, you don't really need to spell anymore because you've really got into the diet and it seems a part of your world. Now, what happens if you start to cheat on your diet? You start to cheat, or you start to stop, you reach a plateau and you can't lose anymore. Whatever happens, do you need to do it again? Yeah, maybe you need to do it again. Because nothing is just, you don't set it and it's not set and forget it forever. That's not the idea. So you might need to do it again. And that's very common. That's very common. That's why, people, when they have things like a prosperity altar, they have a prosperity altar. And they deal with whatever they need as they need it. You have a healing altar. You deal with, if you could just set up healing for everybody that you know and all your pets and everything you want, and just one spell and let it go forever, and keep those people in, health, in good health and safe, that'd be really nice, wouldn't it? But we can't do it that way. We have to redo it. We have to do it again and add the intention or change the intention somehow or whatever. Okay, so the inertia, yes, will fall off. It will fall off because just like energy falls off. If I have my pendulum going, as long as I'm holding it, it's still going, perhaps. Perhaps it will slow down though and it will stop. And if it slows down and stops, if it does, we have to get it started again. Okay? I hope that helps. I don't know if that helps or not. Okay, I had somebody ask me about if they thought I felt that I was over a target because of maybe when I read the tarot or when some of the other things that I do, if it ever makes me a target to energies that might be harmful or whatever. Well, that's a tricky question to say. Because as a witch, I naturally put in protections all the time around me to keep me as safe as I can, because anytime I'm dealing with energies that are in the universe, energies outside of my own, and the forces of those energies, I don't have any control over them, do I? So I naturally that's why we put up the protection things in the first place. But that's also why we, we do things like when I'm reading my tarot, I create a space. My table here has been cleansed and smudged, whatever. My whole room, in this whole room, I keep an area, an aura of protection around it all the time. I just recently did a lot of purging in this room and organizing in this room, and I took everything out of my cupboards and redid a lot of my cupboards and things. And as I was doing it, I smudged everything, all the nooks and corners everywhere, to build up that protection, layers of protection. When I'm on my table, here my reading table, this is black snowflake obsidian I keep here. It's a good way to block some things. I keep some things like that around me that help. I keep, I have sage. I periodically will use this smudge from my sage or something else. I burn incense all the time. But I do these kind of things, not necessarily because I think I'm a target, but because I think anybody who dabbles with energies that are not their own needs to protect themselves in certain ways, wearing bracelets or whatever you do. But be careful about being superstitious. That's what I'm going to say. I think some people are just superstitious. is it a superstition, or are you just being careful? Because when it starts to become a superstition, then your guard is going down. Then you think, because I do this, because I spit in the wind or whatever, I don't have to do this. I don't have to be smart about being clear with my intention and, those kind of things. That's really dangerous. It's really dangerous. That's letting your guard down when you're depending on a certain thing. Or if I were superstitious and believe all I have to do is put this snowflake obsidian on my table here, and nothing's going to harm me, or no things are going to come in here, and that would make me superstitious. Is that confusing? So I don't think of myself as being a target. I think of myself as being a powerful witch. I have a very strong will. I have a clear sense. I'm an empath, so I have a clear sense, an awareness about me that maybe some other people do not have. I don't mean that other people cannot develop that. I think they can. But I'm not going to be crazy and just be superstitious about anything and depend entirely on things that are separate from me. The things that I use in my magical practice are there to help me. My will, my awareness, my intentions are number one. And that's where the power is. So, you don't have to have all these things, and you don't have to fear. If you're well-centered and you keep your mind clear and you're careful with your cards and things like that, I don't think you're necessarily inviting danger or inviting anything in. Okay. The best moon phases for protection work. People always ask me about that. Like there's no doubt about it. I do believe that moon energies are very strong in our lives. I would be crazy if I did not say that. I am a triple Cancer. The moon is very important in my life. I'm a water sign. It's very important in my life. I live, 7 miles from the beach. I know about tide. I know the effect that the moon has on our life. Okay. I worked in both schools and in hospitals. I know the effect of what happens under full moons. I want to say, and I'm also a witch who practices, we celebrate full moons. Every month we celebrate a full moon. So I'm very aware about that, about working with moon. And as a gardener, I do know that planting by the moon can be very effective in your garden. Planting, whether the moon is actually waxing or waning, if the moon is increasing in energy, that's the time to plant your seeds. Plant your seeds to the full moon. After the full moon, it's waning in energy, waning. That's not the time to plant at that time. That's not supposed to be the best time. And I understand that as a witch, and I understand that as somebody who studies the moon. But I want to tell you, as a gardener, that's not always possible. Because there's a lot of other factors that go into when you have a garden, especially a sizable garden that you're trying to, I'm not trying to make a living from it, but I'm trying to live, with organic gardening in a first of all, a desert climate, and there's a lot of things. So we have other factors we have to look into when I'm going to be planting, when stuff is ready to go in the ground, it has to go in the ground. It just has to, whether it's time or not. So, that being said, when you want to talk about moon phases for things like protection work, there are definitely some things to consider. But I want to say, if you think about this, to make it easier on yourself, because I'm not, maybe I'll do a video sometime on that, on moon phases, because I do have quite a few books on that would maybe be interesting to some of you. But what I want to say about it is, moon phases are, to make it simpler for you, think about what I just said about the waxing and the waning of the moon. The going from a new moon, how it increases to the full moon. We're drawing things in at that time. We're increasing our energy. So, okay, if we want to draw in energies for protecting ourselves, we would do it at that time. If we want to hold things away from us, send them away from us, it makes sense then following the full moon as it's growing darker, less and less moon, as it is waning. That is the time for magic work to take things away. People say, what about dieting? Where can I do, if I want to do health, like a diet, if I want to do a diet spell, which time do I do it? Well, it would make sense that you could do it. You could say, I need to do it at the waning moon because I want the moon, I want to lose weight as the moon is waning. Dropping pounds. But what about gaining health, healthy habits, building up healthy habits, building out the energy that you're going to need to burn your calories or whatever. You see, you can do it during the waxing moon for that way. So the best thing is just to understand it and then to change your intention to match, if you want to take into consideration the moon phases, match your intention with the phase of the moon. If it's building up, if it's waxing, you change your intention to draw things to you or that will protect you, okay? Draw things to you for protection. Build up the protection. But if you want to send negativity away, then I would use it during the waning moon. Some people do it during the dark moon, or full moon when there's no moon at all, dark moon. It's harvesting. It's just what makes sense for you. If it makes sense for you, and again, you're positive in your intention, you're probably going to be fine. I don't put a whole lot of, I don't worry about the moons too much when I'm talking about protection, because if I feel I have a need for protection, I feel it, then I put up the protection, regardless of the moon. And also, I tend to do more of that kind of thing, like I just said with my witch's jar. I usually do that with the Sabbath rather than the moon, because that energy is just something that it's a more gradual moon. The moon phase changes every day, right? It changes every day, so it'd be kind of tricky if you're only going to do it on the new moon or the full moon, or then you're very limited. You're limited to the energy of like 3 days or whatever. So, and that's not really it's not really realistic for me. Okay, so anyway, consecrating magical tools. I did have a video on that, and somebody says, can this be done for candles as well? The same thing that I did to consecrate the tools. And what I did was, I don't know what I was consecrating in the video, but it's something like if you want to consecrate anathema, or you want to concentrate I don't know, whatever you use for your magical tools. I don't know what we did, but I think I'll try to look up that old video and see what it was we did. When I consecrate candles, I tend to do that in a different way. I don't necessarily do the same thing, but remember, when we're consecrating tools, like when I consecrate a new athame, or you consecrate a, what else might you use? You might use a piece of jewelry, or you might use an altar stone or something like that you want to consecrate, or a chalice that you want to use on your altar. That's something that you're going to keep for that intention. So then that's different. A candle is something you use and then you burn it and then it's gone. So it's not something that's going to stay permanently working for you as a tool. It's for a period of time. So I tend to use the candles. When I'm using candles, I tend to consecrate them for their use. Like for ritual, they're consecrated a certain way for ritual. They're consecrated a certain way for on my altars, whatever. But they're done for when I do spell work. But they're usually done with some kind of oil, and then something, either dirt or water or salt or herb, whatever it is, depending on what I'm using. I will have a different way that I add to it at the time. But then again, it's going to be lit and it's going to be burned and then it's going to be gone. So it's a little bit different. But you could basically do the same thing. It's just like that. It's not really, when I consecrate my tools, I don't really put oil all over my athame. I didn't do that. Or put it in water. I didn't really do that, I don't think. I mean, I did it, but, I guess that's not even true. I sprinkled the water. With a candle, when I use a candle, though, I do oil it. I put some water in my hand. I have special oil for different things. I put some oil in my hand and I usually rub them in my hand this way. But some people will, they'll take the candle and they'll stroke it. However they do it. Some people do it only up, only down, whatever. Excuse me. I tend to put it in my hand and roll it. That's just my practice. It's just a little different use. So I don't do the same exact steps, but it's the same kind of thing. And yes, before you use a candle, if you're just using a candle to light it, you don't need to do anything to it. But if you're using it as part of your spell or in part of a ritual, usually you would consecrate it in some way. I had questions about my Etsy shop. Where is it? I closed it. I found Etsy was just not satisfactory for me at all. I don't know how long I had an Etsy shop, a good while, and nobody even ever saw it, so it was not for me. It was costing me money. I still have a shop up on my website. It's not to date. That's just at the bottom of my list of things that have to be done. I still sell bracelets, and I sell incense blends, and I sell, most of the things that are on there. But, and I even have, and tarot readings, of course. But if you want to buy anything from me, I'm even making a note. And you're not sure if it's still there or how much it costs or whatever, if that's even in date. Because I was having trouble with some of the links to my shop. I think I may be correct with some of them. I'm not even sure where I stand with that. Email me at goodwife at cox.net. I will add my email address here. Email me and ask me if you want to buy something. If you want a tarot reading, I absolutely do tarot readings. I do tarot readings by YouTube. I will do a tarot reading by Zoom if you want to see me live, talk to me live, or you want to come to my home, and if you're in the neighborhood, you can come into my parlor. I do. I'm going to be starting a class, tarot classes. I will say that too. I've been promising that. I'm not doing them in October. I was going to do them in September. I did not. I cannot right now because I have a big thing coming up at Samhain. A big thing. So it's taking my energies from now and through Samhain. So the class cannot happen. But I'm hoping to do the class starting in November. And I might be adding a new class to my regular series. So if you're interested in any kind of tarot at all, whether it be beginning or advanced or just repeating the class you took or you want, I have a lot of repeaters. I don't know why, if that's good or bad. A lot of people take the class over and over again. I'm not even sure why. But we have a good deal. We have a great deal of fun. So again, if you're interested in tarot in any way, whether you want a reading or you want a class or what you want, email me. Please email me and use goodwife at cox.net. I will put it down, goodwife at cox.net. And ask me, and I will give you the information. If you want to be added to a list for the name on the list for classes, I will do so. But other than that, if you're interested in something, purchasing something from me from the website, or inquiring whether I have it for sale, yes, I do have I do have things for sale. Right, most things I will sell. Other than I will not sell. You can't pay me to do a spell for you, but I will sell you kits to do it. I'll sell you oils. I'll sell you, black salt or witch salt or cascarilla powder or, whatever you need. So just tell me what you need, and I'll send you the information before you would, and I take everything on PayPal. So, but I wouldn't pay me first. I would ask me first to make sure I have it. Or if you want a certain kind of a bracelet, like wear bracelets for a certain reason, tell me what your reason is, and I can get back with you on some choices that I might have. Depend on the stones that I have for you. I can make it for you. I have people ask, where's the Elemental series? That's coming. Again, I just have so many projects going on right now. It's absolutely coming. I'm also going to do, because I've had so many requests for it, is a basic astrology series, just very basic, that I'm going to be doing, starting with, of course, the big three, as we call them, the sun, the rising, and the moon signs, but also going into some of the planets and houses. I think some people could use some information with that. I'm going to try to do that. That's probably going to be a winter project rather than before. Okay. People ask me, when am I planning for Samhain? I'm not going to be doing the 30 days of Samhain again, but if you're getting ready for Samhain, you want some ideas, that's some fun. You can go back and look at that playlist. I think I have them on the playlist. I am doing a really big, well, it's not that big, but for me it's big because it's really fun. I'm doing an really cool planning an event in my home here. We get with some friends. In line like the black dinner, but it's something special for Samhain. And I don't want to really say too much about it because I don't want to spoil it for the people who will be here. I will be taking pictures and recording that, of course. That'll be in my book project that will be coming out, and hopefully next year my book will be done. And also take some pictures or take some shots. Maybe I'll show you after. It's gonna have to come after the fact on Samhain though, so it would only maybe help me for next year. But I just want it to be special for the people that are coming. It's an experience rather than just, that's part of the fun. It's just getting there and experiencing it for the first time. Okay, I had some questions about, let's see. Somebody was asking about folk magic, and particularly folk magic in Pennsylvania growing up. Now, that's something that I have a little bit of information about. I kind of hesitated to get too much into that area because I haven't lived in Pennsylvania since I was in my 20s. So I don't know that how I'm really not somebody to speak on that because it's not. I haven't grown up. I haven't lived there my adult life. I can do a little bit more on some folk magic. I have some interesting things about folk magic and comparing folk magic in different parts of the country, particularly. I might want to do. That might be an idea for a future video. For right now, it's just nothing that I'm really wanting to get into right now. Because for me and for a crone, I think that all of us pretty much basically, folk magic is, there's not a big difference in what we do in our solitary practices. And folk magic, I think our solitary practices are based primarily on what we have learned as far as ideas we've picked up in folk magic from people around us and from ideas around us. And so I think they sort of go hand in hand already for solitaries. And solitary practitioners, I don't like to really define them. I don't like to say this is a solitary practitioner because I think the thing that's so cool about that is you make your own. Whatever you lean towards in your own way, you do. Some people don't have anything to do with any spiritual practice. It's all magic. And some people have only spiritual and no magic. And some people have no tarot, or some people read runes, or some people don't do anything like that. It's so varied. It varies so much that I tend to just let people find their own path that way and not talk about it too much. If that makes sense. Again, I had about oils, asking about black hat oil, spider oil. I have a couple oils. I don't know if I did. I thought I meant to do a video on it. I'm not sure I did. I'll have to go back and check if I did. If I did not, I will definitely be putting up a video talking about some of these oils. I know I did spider oil. I told you how to do that. Black cat oil and some of these other oils that I use. I'm not sure that I put videos up on those. I have a note here that's definitely some subjects for some future videos, so I don't have it now. Of course, people asking for recipes always, which is, I find that kind of cute. I don't find it cute, but because I don't cook with a lot of recipes, and I know people are gonna. This is sort of where I am. Why it's taking me kind of so long with my book project, if I can talk about this, is because my book is going to have some recipes in it, no doubt. It's going to have some recipes in it. I have developed some really fun recipes that I would love to share, but I don't really cook too much with a recipe. I'm the kind of person who cooks with what I have, or uses the amount that I think is right. Like, I know that's just like a home cook, right? That's what home cooks do. We all do that. Anybody who cooks at home all the time. You will cook with what's in the refrigerator. I'm going to make some kind of pasta. What do I got in the refrigerator to have with it? You know, what is some kind of a vegetable stir fry? Like last night I had a stir fry. You know, we had a completely different stir fry from anything we ever had before because that's what I had in the refrigerator. That's most of the way I cook. But anyway, my cookbook, it sounds like it's a cookbook, and it's not really a cookbook because it's about so much more than a cookbook, which I will talk about more of it later than I'm saying now. I don't want to give too much away about my book now because it's still very much my personal project. And trust me, I will be telling you all about it, and you will be the first to know when it's ready for purchase. You'll be the first to know. But anyway, I will share some recipes as I do them. If I think of them, I will do them. One of the reasons I don't is it's sort of a cop-out, but when I set up a recipe, when I set up a dish to make it, I'm usually doing some other things at the same time. And it just might not be the kind of things that I want to put on camera, you know, because I'm doing other things too. And, but I will give it a go. I'll try to do some more things like that for you. I did have ask for a couple people recommending for books. And I really don't recommend books for the same reason. I don't know. I have a lot of books that are pretty crappy, to be honest. I don't know. You go through a time where you buy all these books and you think they're good. And I want to tell you, a lot of books that I buy, I thought about it for a minute that I was going to share these books with you for the main reason of saying, do you really want this book? But then I thought that's not fair to the author because some authors have put out quite a few books and they're pleasant enough books, but they're the kind of book that you get and you wait for it and it comes in the mail and you sit down and look through it and you find that you've just read the whole book and you're in like 20 minutes you've read through the whole book. There's not much substance in it. It's very limiting. It's very shallow. And you know, for those kind of people that want that kind of thing, there's lots of those books that are written really well. I could maybe tell you some privately, I don't know. I just don't want to diss other people's work. They're fine books, but there's no substance. If you're serious about being a witch, they just don't have a lot of substance. If you're serious about being a witch, I've recommended one of these books probably 3 times at least before, in one way or another. And that's this one. It's written by Anne Mora. It's called Grimoire for the Green Witch. Now, this implies that you have to be a green witch. You don't have to be a green witch. But the reason I keep recommending this book is this book has so many things that somebody who's new, especially a solitary, would want to know about. That it's really invaluable. I don't think I've ever really read it. I look through it. Every once in a while I go, I forget the stuff that's in it. I go, oh, I forgot that was in it. That's really cool. Because I've really never used it for that, but this is why it's an invaluable book. It has so many things. It has, of course, it talks about what a green witch is, and I consider myself, I'm a green witch, I'm a hedge witch, I'm a coven witch, I'm so many things. I'm Wiccan, I'm a high priestess of Wicca, I'm Wicca. There's so many things about me that I am, that I'm just eclectic, okay? So I don't really go by labels. But if you're really looking about what is a green witch, I do love the idea of the earth and being green. If you want to consider me green that way, I'm very much into the relationship we have with the earth and nature and the seasons and the Sabbaths and the Esbats and the goddess and the god, and that's my jam. And it talks all about that in this book. It tells you what the Sabbaths are, all of the Sabbaths, and it also has it shows you things like how to set up a basic altar if you want to know how to set up an altar, or things that go on a basic altar if you weren't sure, if you're trying to set up an altar at home. It tells you the tools that you might want and what the different areas are. It tells you some things, some terms. Like it has like a little bit of terms, like if you don't understand what the term amulet is or something like that, or you know, cleansing, what we might mean by some of these terms. They're in this. They're in this index. They're defined in here. It tells you basics like how to cast a circle, basic circle castings. What happens when you cast a circle? Now, yes, depending on your practice, this is not the only way. There are many, many ways. I know many, many ways of casting a circle or having rituals, but it does tell you about you casting the circle and parts of a circle where you do your cakes and ale or cakes of wine or whatever you have. Opening the circle at the end, you open that circle back up. While you do those things, it talks about it has examples of rituals for all the aspects of for the Sabbath. Just a very simple ritual, what kind of things you want. So if you were hoping to have some kind of a ritual on your own, it might give you a good idea of what you might want to say. Okay. It has some other rituals in here, like for cleansing or for what else? Dedicating candles or whatever, hand fasting rituals or, you know, things like that. Then it has, and here's about, you know, like meditation. Here's another place we talk about spell crafting or correspondences. Correspondence is about wonderful charts. Here's all about sigils and color correspondences and elemental correspondences and properties of trees or you know, incenses, some oils, different kind of oils, what they're for. Association of the planets, what aspects we get from the planets, or zodiac, or just so many wonderful things. Animal totems, herbal correspondences, stones. Here's some different chants for spells. You know, it's just pages and pages and pages of all kinds of information. I really think this is a wonderful, it's just a wonderful, it's a reference book, but it's just simple. It even has tarot stuff, keywords for tarot. I didn't even realize that. Isn't that interesting? You think I could have looked at that a long time ago? Interesting. Huh. There's all kind of things for tarot. And pendulum, here's pendulum use. Who even knew about that? Huh. I might need to read this book again. I need to take another look. You see this one, here's even stuff about the palm reading and palmistry and wow. That's a lot of stuff in this book. Really well organized. I mean, don't underestimate this book. This is why I do recommend it. I really do recommend this. Okay. Other than that, I really don't recommend too many books, except I love Scott Cunningham because Scott Cunningham, there's a lot of books that he has written. His books are just, they're written, they're not fluffy. He has some substance in here. He talks about things, but it's not so heavy that you can kind of read it quickly, you know. It's very, very general, very, very general, but it's on point. This one I really like. It's Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. Okay. I don't know what this means. Includes. What does that mean? Oh, it includes his book of shadows. Interesting. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. He's got some interesting things in here. And this one I like too. This is another Scott Cunningham. I've got several. He's written a lot of books, I think. This one is The Magickal Household Spells and Rituals for the Home. It's just a little book. Not a lot of, not a lot. It's really kind of just very basic stuff. But, you know, the good things about little books like this, you can read them fast, you can probably only almost skim them. But it's kind of, it's substantive. You know, it's good stuff, you know. Even though it's just maybe basic, it's still good stuff. Okay, this is driving me crazy. Ah! Ooh, that was great. Making me nuts in there. Okay, so anyway. Those are just three. There's some other ones that I might, you know, I have some herbal books that are good or whatever, but I don't like to recommend books until if you ask me specifically, books in a certain way, what on a certain subject I can maybe do better than just general books. If you're just looking for general books and you're just beginning and you want to get some basic information, Scott Cunningham is good, and this Grimoire for Green Witch, I really recommend that a lot. I'm sure it's still for sale. I'm sure it is. Okay, I have one more. I only have one more. I think this is maybe getting to be terrifically long. But I have one more comment to make. I had some questions. I've had more than one, but one person particularly worded it really well. But I've had other people ask me about the same thing. Asking how I cope with periods of doubting magic or not having motivation to do my spell work or to do a ritual, etc. And it says, can you just run out of steam? Well, I have to tell you that all of us go through periods of time when we don't do spell work and we won't want to go to ritual or we don't feel very magical. And I don't cope with it. I don't not cope with it, and I don't cope with it. It's a part of life. It's a part of being, you know, maintaining that balance in your life. Sometimes there are so many other things that are demanding of your attention or your energies or whatever that you just don't have it. And it's not necessarily that you've lost it or it's not that you just ran out of steam and can't do it. It's that your steam is needed elsewhere. It's a natural thing. It's part of that, what we call about the balance, right? Which we're doing right now. We're taking time out. Just stop right now. Don't do any magic right now, other than making a witch's jar, if you can. Just stop and try to get yourself in alignment. Try to get yourself in balance. Do whatever you need to do. Meditate, or just relax, or just do something that you enjoy, or just to get yourself back to center. Because you don't want to perform magic when you are not well centered or well grounded. You don't want to attend a ritual even or hold ritual if you are not in that space. You know, I for very long, and when I was a private practitioner, and even when I did group ritual with one group in particular, anytime we were finished with the ritual, we took our energies and we put them down on the ground. We touched the ground. Because we had built up energy, and when we were finished, we go down and we touch the ground. The group I'm with doesn't do that. But you don't have to touch the ground, but shaking that energy off, whatever. It's very, doing magic or even doing ritual and building up these energies, it's stress on your body. It's not necessarily bad stress, it's good stress. It takes a lot of energy, though, to do that. That's why so many witches, after they're done doing their ritual, they eat. We feast because we're hungry, because we just did some magic. So if you find that you're going through a period of time where you just don't want to do it, or you just don't feel like you want to do any spells, or you don't want to, it's because your energies are needed somewhere else. Your stamina, you only can do so much, and you're needed somewhere else. Get yourself in line. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that at all. Just get yourself centered and in line and back in tune. Once you get back into tune with the universe, back in tune with the elements, back in tune with the seasons, that's going to come naturally to you. We all go through this. I go through this all the time myself. And I don't think you're not running out of steam. You're not running out of steam. It's just, you need something else. How many times have you come home, if you've been out at work or you've been really busy doing something, and You just want to be by yourself. You don't want anybody talking to you. You don't want your kids talking to you. You don't want your parents talking to you. You don't want your spouse talking to you, your partner, your friends. You know, they text you and they want to chat or whatever. You don't want to chat. You just need to be alone. Well, it's the same thing when you're doing magic. Sometimes you just need to pull away and to recharge yourself. When the time is right that you need to do magic, you will know it. When you need a spell, you will know it. When you want to make a ritual, you will know it. Okay? Don't concern yourself. It's not like you've done it too much or you just done it. It's not like burning. It's not like burnout like you would do with other things, like, oh, I've done this so many times, I don't care anymore. No, it's not like that. Think about people who, you know, they're constantly, you know, they have a lifetime, they show a lifetime of music or a lifetime of art or a lifetime of religion or a lifetime of whatever it is, playing golf. They don't play golf every day, but, you know, they've done it since they were a teenager and now they're 60 and they're still playing golf. You know, it's just, when it's part of you, it's part of you. You're not going to lose it. You don't have to worry about losing it. The other thing I wanted to say, this is just something else I want to say before I get off here. I've been talking and talking. But we talk so much about the Sabbath, and we talk about the aspects and things like that. But I want to remind you, when we're talking about a Sabbath particularly, which is coming up at Mabon, it is so much more than what you do on a day. And if I do anything, I'm going to get that across to everybody. I want you to think about, you know, if I have to compare it to my life growing up as in a Christian household and a Christian community, basically, where, you know, you spend from the time from Thanksgiving until Christmas preparing for Christmas. You know, there's cookies being made and gone in the freezer. There's presents being purchased and hidden away to be wrapped. There's, you know, decorations, series of decorations we've gotten out, and there's things, caroling trips that you make with friends, or learning music for a concert, or whatever you do. There's so many different activities that go into that, preparing for that ritual of Christmas, or whatever you do, or the season of Christmas. Okay, whether it comes before or after. It's the energies, it's those energies that we feel at a certain time of the year. That's the things that we're feeling now as the darkness is coming upon us. We're going to start feeling it. If you have never felt it in the past, this is the time, because everybody where you live, this is the time. Here comes autumn. Here comes fall. Fall begins, the end of summer. Literally the end of summer, supposedly, right? Of course, in California, it's not going to be, but because we still have a lot of hot weather in October sometimes. But you know what I'm talking about. All of a sudden, you feel the cool weather. All of a sudden, the air feels a little differently. All of a sudden, the light, the angle of the sun is a little different. All of a sudden, you know, you see different activity in the birds. All of a sudden, you see different sights in your garden. Those are the things to pay attention to. Begin now, if you've never done it before, begin with Mabon and really experience what that Sabbath is all about. Let it happen for you over a period of time. You know, I know it's very, very tempting to want to jump into Samhain. As a witch, I'm jumping into Samhain already because I'm planning, but at the same time, I'm doing these things to plan. But I am going to experience Mabon. I'm going to make sure that Mabon is a part of my experience and not just everything turned towards Samhain. Because Samhain is not ready to happen yet. Not ready. Yeah. Now, I know Samhain and Yule are two things that we get rid of. We start to get ready for long before, because just by the very natures of them, we do that. And that's okay. But the energy still is there for whatever Sabbath we are in. And please try to hold on to that. Okay, I have talked myself to death. Ugh. My dogs aren't even up. They're so bored with me. I'm not even kidding. So thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, I'll try to get to them. I'll try to do another one. If this video is helpful, If I can get the timestamps up, this will be helpful, and then maybe I'll do this again if that works for us. Okay, you'll let me know in the comments if it worked. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rebecca, and I wish you blessings.